Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can I ask you to take your seats, dear colleagues? Nice to see you here to open the European Parliamentary Week of 2026. So first of all, dear President Demetriou, dear Anita, dear speakers, dear deputy speakers, dear colleagues, this is one of those moments we are saying in this House, when years from now people will look back and ask, when Europe was tested, did we rise to the occasion? Across our union, and I'm sure you feel this in your respective national chambers, people feel that something is shifting. They feel it when they sit at the kitchen table at the end of the month, trying to make the numbers work. They feel it when energy bills rise again, when rents climb higher, when the weekly costs are more than they did just 1 year ago. They worry that their children may not have the same opportunity that they themselves once had. Small business owners feel it acutely. Costs are up, competition is tougher, and sometimes the rules feel heavier than they should. At the same time, war continues on our continent. Tomorrow marks 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. 4 years that have completely changed how we think about security, and how this has reminded us how fragile peace can be. In fact, tomorrow we will have a special extraordinary session of the plenary, and President Zelensky will address us. All of this is happening at the same time as the global economy shifts at extraordinary speed, with others investing heavily, moving very fast and shaping the future of technology and industry in ways that will define the next decades. So I wanted to set the scene by starting to say all this because the challenges are many. But I would say also that our resolve to meet the moment is greater. Just a few days ago, at the informal leaders' retreat and again at the Munich Security Conference, the message was crystal clear. Europe can no longer afford to drift. Small adjustments won't cut it anymore. The era of half measures is over, and that this is a time for decisions that match the scale of the challenges that we face together. And I believe Europe is capable of that. We proved it during the pandemic. We are proving it every day in our support for Ukraine, because when we act together, Europe can truly move mountains. Now, in each of these moments, it was our democracies all together that carried us through. It was national parliaments and this parliament taking responsibility, taking sometimes the most difficult, unprecedented decisions when it mattered most. And this week here in the European Parliament, together with you, we can all show once again that parliamentary democracy can deliver. So with that, let me warmly welcome you all to the European Parliament for this 15th European Parliamentary Week. Dear Anita, I thank you and your colleagues at the House of Representatives of the Republic of Cyprus for coordinating this week with us. Anita and I have been friends for years. We have worked together constantly, faced common challenges, have had similar debates, whether in this Parliament and yours, as I can say for all of you. And when on 1st of January Cyprus took on the presidency of the Council, it could not have taken it at a more challenging time. And under President Christodoulidis and with your Parliament fully engaged, you have provided steady leadership, and I want you to know that we truly appreciate the cooperation we have. Now, this week, we are joined by well over 200 participants, including over 120 members from 27 national chambers across the European Union, as well as from 4 candidate countries, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, North Macedonia and Serbia, and also from Norway. Each one of you brings with you the experience of shaping national budgets, of scrutinizing reforms, of explaining European decisions to people who expect answers. You know and you feel every day how policy translates into daily reality, how choices made here in Brussels and Strasbourg and in your own capitals affect people in towns and cities across Europe. You know what works on the ground and what needs to change. And that connection is so important, and that's why we invest so heavily in it. Because what we are discussing is essentially whether Europe can make life more affordable, whether we can bring greater stability to energy prices, whether we can create conditions for businesses to grow here in Europe rather than elsewhere, whether we can invest in skills so that workers are prepared for change and that nobody is left behind. In this Parliament, what we are doing right now is we are pushing to complete the single market. We are pushing to remove the barriers, so many of them, that still stand in our way. We are working to strengthen our energy union, so supply is secure and prices are more predictable. We are cutting unnecessary red tape that holds back entrepreneurs and innovators. And we are shaping a long-term budget that supports our regions, that backs our farmers and equips the next generation with real opportunities. But none of this will work in isolation, and for this we need you completely. European decisions only work if they reflect national realities. Each election after election, we learn this more and more. And if such decisions are explained clearly at home, and you are that bridge, so over the next 2 days, your discussions will help shape how we move forward. So this is no ordinary week, for more reasons than one. I mentioned a special sitting tomorrow of the European Parliament. This will be a moment to reaffirm our commitment and support to Ukraine, and to show that when Europe is challenged, it stands together and it acts together. So all of you are invited to follow that sitting from the tribunes, and I truly hope that many of you will join us as we mark that moment of unity and of resolve. So colleagues, this is truly Europe's moment. The people who placed their trust in us when they went to the ballot box, they are watching what we do. They expect us to act, and we cannot afford to hesitate. So over the next 2 days, let us match words with action and show that when Europe is tested, it rises to the occasion. So now, it is my true honour to give the floor to my dear friend, to the President of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Cyprus. Dear Anita, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear Roberta, and allow me to extend my warmest greetings to each and every one of you. And you allow me, of course, to speak in my mother language, in Greek. Εξοχότατη κυρία Πρόεδρε του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου.
Distinguished President of the European Parliament, good friend to Cyprus, and my personal friend, dear Roberta, colleagues, members of the European Parliament, guests, representatives from the different parliaments throughout Europe and the European institutions that represent our values and our principles of identity and a European perspective. It's an immense honor and pleasure to open our session for the European Parliamentary Week. organized by the European Parliament and the representatives of Cyprus within the context of the parliamentary context for Cyprus's presidency. Allow me to thank the European Parliament and the President, my friend, for the close collaboration and hospitality shown to us here in Brussels. We've come together not just as representatives of institutions and countries, but as stewards of a common goal, one that was born from conflict and which matured through crises and is now a guiding star for the entire continent. What we do in this continent is based on dialogue. We discuss our differences with a view to uniting and integrating. This is not the result of pure similarities. This is a chance to really build something. And the resilience of our democracy is based on that. We are living in a time of uncertainty and change. The war in Ukraine has reminded us that peace and security in our continent cannot be taken for granted. What happened in Ukraine 4 years ago happened in my country 50 years ago. My country knows all too well what violations of international law look like, what occupation looks like, what invasions look like. So we will continue to support Ukraine, and simultaneously, we will follow what goes on the international stage. This is in all our interest. It's not just our resilience that's at stake, it's the unity that we have in what we believe and what we say. The time we're living in is characterized by a flood of information, but not necessarily knowledge. Media, which could support democracy, often acts as a source of false information. Lies spread faster than the truth. Artificial intelligence is about a balance between manipulation and the truth. Currently, fanaticism is spreading. Societies are polarizing. There are multiple parallel realities. The Eurobarometer has shown this is true. Citizens call for security and perspective, greater unity, and greater, more effective political action. And so, the European Parliament and national parliaments' roles must be more decisive in this context. We are the guardians of democratic legitimization. We must ensure that there is accountability and democratic participation beyond fanaticism and polarization. We must build bridges between European decision-making and the daily lives of our citizens. Often the gap seems huge, but in practice it's not. Quite the contrary, I would say. Strengthening parliamentary debate is a democratic necessity, not just an obligation. It is only through closer cooperation that we'll be able to mold European policy that will allow us to face strategic dependence on strategic raw materials, our need to increase defense spending and military spending, multiple transitions, demographic challenges, and a scarcity of skills, as well as migratory pressures and their weaponization. President, representatives, at this moment, a small country on the southeastern borders of Europe, partially occupied, has taken on a great responsibility. Cyprus, my homeland, has the honor of taking on the presidency for the European Council. The size of a country is not what we can use to measure the footprint it leaves on the European Union. All countries are the same in that sense. And Cyprus, which has been a member state of the EU for over 20 years, continues to suffer the consequences of occupation in part of its territory by Turkey, and takes on this presidency well aware of its responsibilities. We hope to act as an honest mediator in developing and building synergies, work towards common interests to bolster resilience in Europe. That is our duty. Our geographic position in the East Mediterranean is strategic and allows us to contribute concretely to building bridges between countries and promoting a foreign policy that is not just based on our economic interests. It will also take into consideration the UN Charter and the principles of the European Union, as well as international law. As a small island state, we believe that our greatest diplomatic success has been our full participation in building the European project. And we also believe that we've been given a tremendous opportunity with this presidency. We are more aware than ever that we cannot use or support international law only when it benefits us. We must be consistent both within and outside of the European Union. Madam President, representatives, Europe is at a crossroads. This is a crucial moment. The challenges that we face call on us to take larger steps. We must take giant steps forward in order to solve the problems that our citizens face. We must take advantage of every possibility when it comes to competitivity, productivity, technology, so that the EU is not left behind. The green transition must be fair, and the next MFF must better represent our aspirations. Our continent must lead in protecting democracy in a time of fanaticism. We must promote the truth in a time of false information. We must be just. We must be just in a divided world. At a time of great polarization, we must lead by example. Through agreement, we must provide security. The union, having a union doesn't mean that there aren't diverging opinions. We have to find a way to unite those diverging opinions. The generation that established the EU took a step, a large step forward, and it is now incumbent upon us to keep that momentum. A small country like Cyprus can, through the European institutions, contribute to building our shared future. Representatives, we must bet on our union and ensure that our diversity of voices act as our strongest tool. It is our responsibility. We must stand up to the challenges that we face. We cannot remain still. We cannot allow polarization and fragmentation to take hold. We must hold space. We have to decide what we will strengthen and what we will leave behind. We must believe in our common future. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, dear Anita. Thank you to you all. Before we conclude the formal opening of this European Parliamentary Week 2026, I'd like to thank all of you members of national parliaments. You will have a lot of discussions also with members of the European Parliament over the next couple of days. We hope to see you, as I said, tomorrow during the solemn session. In a few moments you will move to the 3 parallel interparliamentary committee meetings. These will start at 3:30. These exchanges give us the chance to bring together national and European perspectives on our union's economic and policy challenges within the framework of the European semester and beyond. So I wish you all a very productive session, a very inspiring one. Try to meet as many members as possible, and if you need anything, please, we are here to help. Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon.